Well, okay. All the subscribers will get it.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Okay.
Man, I was about to ready to go
I think
off on
we are
ETS.
back.
Okay. Oh.
Sorry about that, folks. Little technical difficulties here. One of the things when you're going remote.
Well, you know, if I know anything about college football, it's how do you respond to adversity.
There
That's
ain't
what
no
we were
doubt
talking
about
about right there.
I want to
Troy.
make sure it's clear I didn't do anything. So
Well, you kicked the cord, Swaggy,
Yeah.
and then the whole signal went out.
I don't think this has happened since
We
the first
replaced-
couple weeks.
You know, this didn't happen when Tip
That's
was
I
right.
know, that's what
No,
I'm
it
saying.
didn't happen when Tipton was here.
Whatever.
But anyway, so we were talking about the academies. The military academies played Thursday and Friday night. Navy and Army throwing the ball around the field a little bit. Little different.
Yeah.
And let's start with Army and UTSA, because UTSA, as a favorite in all the Group of Five, but especially the American Conference, they didn't look so hot.
Yeah. I mean, personally, for me, I'll probably pass this on to Jeff because I'm pretty disgusted with the UTSA's performance. Did lose some money on that. My wife's watching from Arizona. Sorry. UTSA, I will admit, I placed the bet not knowing Frank Harris was not going to be participating in last night's event. However, I don't even know if it really would have mattered because Army's offense was destroying UTSA. They were like, I don't know who this quarterback came from, but he's like Tim Tebow's little brother. The guy's a star.
Yeah, I mean, and just demoralizing for the UTSA defense. Every time they got them in a 3rd and long or a 4th, I mean, Army was, I think, 6 for 6 on 4th down at one point. I mean, 4th and 4, and you run the ball up the middle and just run it right through the UTSA
Did you just say this?
defense.
That they got it, like they're 100% on 4th down
Yeah,
conversions.
6 of 6, and then it might have been 7 for 7
And it wasn't
later.
just 4th and 1s.
No,
They're
4th
and 4s. They were
Yeah.
going for it and they were getting it.
Yeah, every time. And then they had the one touchdown that, it looked like the running back had just, gotten through traffic. But you watch the replay, and he's literally just following his offensive line.
Oh, that was a pretty good touchdown run.
Untouched.
That was nice.
Yeah,
That was
it
nice.
looked like he was getting through traffic, but he was just following his offensive line. Great patience by that kid.
I choked on my chicken wing when I saw that happening because it went 14-0, and I realized I was
Yeah.
in trouble right then.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I mean, going into the game without Frank Harris, if you would have told me the Roadrunners would have scored that many points, I would have said they would have won the game.
Yeah.
But the defense really, for me, is what was surprising, just not being
Yeah.
able to stop that, that Army attack. And I've been saying this for years. I've never understood why the academies don't go to a shotgun-style triple option. It's going to fit your personnel way better, in my opinion, and it gives you the ability to throw the ball on the outside. You're not just so tight and one-dimensional. So, and I think you saw that last night where Army, I mean, they were throwing the ball downfield. They pull out all the stops. And give credit to Army. I think you have to give them a lot of due here because the Roadrunners kept coming back. They kept trying stuff, had the onside kick. It didn't work out, but Army kept answering the bell. Every time UTSA would score, they would come back and score. So shout out to Army. Great performance last night.
The onside kick was brutal because
Yeah,
that
that's
was
tough.
like you literally see the light. You're like, okay, we're going back, and then they just take it. And it was a good call. It was a good call. I mean, I can get mad all I want. Really good call. Army came into UTSA to win that game. I know we always say, "Oh, you can play to win." They came to win that game, and it showed.
Well, they were definitely emotional. I mean, Coach Monk and San Antonio is a big military community. It's a big Army town, and they definitely wanted. There's a lot of Army fans in that game too in the Dome.
Yeah.
But they, the difference between that game and then the Navy Memphis game, to me, Memphis, although Memphis got the win, they were in the right spot. Army was just kind of dominating up front, where Memphis was in the right spot, just missed tackles. I've never seen such sloppy tackling. I guess that's Memphis. Has that been Memphis forever?
It's kind of been their MO, and then not only the missed tackling, but the turnovers, especially in key situations. A couple people on social media were talking about how they thought Memphis was one of the best teams in the Group of Five, and they've looked at times, but when you turn the ball over like that in key situations, and then just to have the poor tackling that they did, it's you got to play better than that if you want to be a top team.
I think Memphis should have won that game by at least 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
to be
absolutely.
completely honest.
Yeah.
And I don't want to hate on the fumble from Blake Watson, because the kid had an amazing game. I mean,
Yeah.
he rushed for like over 160 yards. He caught for almost 100 yards. I mean, he broke 2 like 80-yard runs.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he could have had 2 touchdowns, but he coughed up the ball right there in the 1 yard line going in. But he had a stellar performance. The guy that I want to question is who I was really high on, and he is a good quarterback. But Seth Hennigan, Jeff, I'm probably going to get a lot of criticism by saying this, but I think the guy might be a little too smart. It's like he does not want to make the risk and go for the big play. He's a check down guy, and he doesn't go for those explosive plays. I saw countless times where he could have just thrown the ball deep, and it's like he's more worried about his stats for INT than he is for the big play. That's just my.
It's very funny you bring that up because I called Jeff yesterday and I said, "Man, is Hennigan just a check down machine or what?"
That's what it looked like.
That's what it looked like. I mean, he's a smart guy, and sometimes here we go. If next week Memphis comes out and he throws for 3 picks, we're going to be like, hey, Hennigan, you got to be more careful with the ball, got to be a better manager. So I don't know, Jeff, was he just taking what the defense was giving him?
I think more times than not he was. Trying to protect the ball is a big, point of emphasis for all quarterbacks, especially Seth Hennigan, because he had some interception issues last season. But, small sample size. We've only seen him a couple games. I want to see him a little bit more against some different style defensive teams. I think he's still one of the top group of 5 quarterbacks that are playing right now, and he's done a great job on the ground as well, which is something that he's not, I don't think, necessarily known for, but he's just doing what he's got to do to make plays.
And let me state this too. If Seth's watching this, there are countless teams out there that would love to have a smart quarterback.
Boy.
But I mean, when it's 3rd and 15 and I see a guy throw a check down pass for a 2-yard gain, I'm like, come on, man. Just let it rip. Let it rip.
Shot, take a chance.
Because, I mean, if it is getting an interception, then it's a long punt, right? I mean, that kind of stuff drives me crazy.
You got to find a happy medium for sure.
And one more thing on that game for both teams. You don't usually see Navy be careless too, but there was a sequence in that game where Memphis went down, fumbled at the goal line, and then Navy got it back, then they fumbled, and then Memphis has a shot. This was a chance where you'd think Hennigan would have made the smart play. They were on like their own 40, could have been careful, punted it away, pinned Navy back deep, but then he throws a pick. Yeah. And I mean, it was just a very sloppy game. Memphis was lucky to get out of there, and they better be careful because they've got Missouri, and then they've got a big home game against Boise State, and then a team called Tulane comes into town. So we're going to find out real quick about the American Conference. But that being said, if I'm Tulane or I'm Memphis, I'm looking at UTSA right now, and I'm
not worried.
Not really worried about it.
No.
Yeah, especially with the health of Frank Harris. And those toe injuries, sometimes they can linger for weeks. And I think that's one reason why they kept him out last night was to really try and get him fully healthy. But, yeah, they're going to need to figure some things out on offense.
You thought you had this offensive juggernaut, and they were good on offense last night, but you thought you had Frank Harris, J.T. Clark, Josh Cephas, Kavorian Barnes, and now Frank Harris ain't playing, Clark ain't playing. And now it's a pretty generic offense.
2 things. I do want to give kudos to the true freshman that came in. I thought he did play good for his first start ever at UTSA. Well. In that kind of environment, that was a big game for that kid, and unfortunately he's on the other end of the getting a loss. But it's amazing how football is such a physical sport. You got such juggernauts playing, and something as simple as a toe injury,
I know,
is going to keep you sidelined for who knows how long.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, it's just one of those nagging things. And then the last one, you saw Air Force Academy play Utah State last night, just dominant. They didn't have to throw it. I think they only threw it 3 times compared to where Army and Navy threw it 19 apiece, I believe, which is insane. Air Force may not throw it 19 times all season.
Yeah.
But Utah State offensively just couldn't get anything going. I know Air Force defense is very, very good, but Air Force was dominant in that game. And, I had them going far in the Mountain West. I still stick by that. I think they look good. You ready to talk about some games today, boys?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
American Conference, here's what we got. We got a nice little slate in the American. You got Norfolk State going to Temple. You got the Tide of Alabama going to South Florida.
That's interesting.
First time the Crimson Tide's going to a non-ranked opponent and don't have that number.
Good,
nice
stat.
I would say 15 years, maybe longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the first time in a long time they've been to a Group of 5 school. That's for sure.
Yeah. Bad day to be a Bull.
And then you got Oklahoma playing Tulsa. Interesting game, Jeff. I want to start with you on this. North Texas at La Tech. North Texas, worst defense in the country so far. They can't stop anybody. 133rd overall defense in FBS, giving up 52 points per game. What we got to do here? They're switching it up at quarterback, though.
They are. Stone Earl started the season at quarterback, but he has not panned out as well. So they're going with ULM transfer Chandler Rogers. I think he gives them the best opportunity on offense, not only to move the ball, but to protect the ball. And that was part of Earl's problem is 4 interceptions in 2 games. You just can't turn the ball over and give that many extra possessions to the opposing offense. But like you said, the defense has got to play better. I mean, the offense is putting up numbers, putting up points. But if you got to outscore 40, 50 points a game, that's just a tall task to overcome. So this defense has got to step up. But they're going against Louisiana Tech, who Bachmeier comes over from Boise State. He's had a decent start to the season, throwing about 70% completion percentage. But I'm still not sold on this offense. I'm still not sold on the team in general. Both defenses have given up some points, but Smoke Harris is a star receiver on the outside for the Bulldogs. They just got to get him the ball in space, and he's going to do the rest. So it's going to be, I think, a shootout, a great offensive matchup, and it's going to be what defenses can make a stop down the stretch is ultimately what I think this game comes down to.
Yeah, I agree. Just looking to see either one of those teams figure out who they are today. And then, Jesse, I'm going to go to you. The Cajuns of Louisiana have not been good. Terry Johnson, if you're watching, brother, good luck again today because UAB actually looks a lot better than a lot of people think. 2.5-point favorites down in Birmingham. Louisiana, 10 penalties last week. Jesse, what do they have to do today to figure it out against UAB?
You can't do that. You can't have 10 penalties.
No, you can't.
Look at that. Baseball practice is already over. It's like they might bunch of quarterbacks out there, ain't they? Just out there. Get a couple of BP in, go home.
That's all you got to do. Get in there, get loose, get out.
Louisiana, UAB. Let me read some stats here for you because this game here it seems like a lock for me for UAB minus 2.5. And I know we're at Troy here and probably some UAB haters, but UAB, they were 4-1 last year at home, and every time they won at home, they won by at least 14 points. Jacob Zeno, quarterback, the guy played phenomenal last week at Georgia Southern. Did not get the win, but this guy's going to put some numbers up. I really think that UAB is going to handle Louisiana. I don't think this is the year for the Cajuns. Terry has been pretty much informed of that as well in his voicemails. It's just going to be a struggle here. And UAB, in my opinion, I said earlier in the show, they're pretty consistent. I'm not going to hold that loss at Georgia Southern in that kind of environment with one of, in my opinion, one of the more complete teams in a group of 5 and losing in a high-scoring game like that. UAB is going to go to Louisiana, and they're going to make a statement, I think. I think they're going to win by at least 7 points. So take UAB Blazers. Sorry, Terry. Back up, Terry.
Yeah, I like it. Also in the American, Prairie View A&M's going to SMU. SMU will dominate that, and Texas Southern going to Rice. I'm going to say this about Rice. Don't pull an NIU on us. You coming off the big Power 5 win. You cannot lay an egg versus the FCS school at home. Now, interesting game, FAU. You guys know I'm high on all the South Florida teams. Going to Clemson. I'm going to say this. I don't think they can win that game, but Casey Thompson's got to protect the ball today for them to even be in it. And I think they can do that. And I think they can be in it and keep that game close and probably cover the 24-point spread.
Yeah, I think they absolutely cover the spread, but it's which Casey Thompson are we going to get today? Because he looked great in their opener, and then last week had a big letdown against Ohio. And here's the big key for me last week. Total of 5 rushing yards as a team for FAU last week. Jeez. You're not going to win very many games not being able to run the ball. So, and it's not like Ohio's defense is all world or anything. So they got to figure out the run game. LaJohntay Wester's their top guy on the outside. He's been their most consistent player in the first 2 games on offense. They got to continue to give him the ball. But Clemson hasn't looked great this season. They are not the Clemson of old. So if Casey Thompson can take care of the ball, that offense can move. They got some keys on defense, Sprouse, especially up front. They might be able to hold Clemson to, some low numbers.
Well, we talked about it on our Tuesday show with Clemson. Dabo has just been so reluctant to adjust his roster in the transfer portal. And you might be seeing that right now because they lost some guys, but they didn't gain a whole lot. And I don't know if it's coincidence. I think maybe Dabo's little poor me shtick is over with in Clemson. And I don't, like I said, I think they're going to beat FAU today, but I don't think it's going to be handily.
My only thing on that is with it being week 3 here, we had the 8 at least 8 games for Group of 5 or Power 5. I think this week's it's monumental for us to
get them.
Got to get a couple of them because then you got the late in the season. That's your last chance. So I predict at least 2 of them are going to come today, and maybe some of the games we're going to talk about here coming up.
Yeah, and let's move on to Conference USA a little bit. You got Liberty at Buffalo. Buffalo gave up 5 touchdown passes to Fordham and C.J. Montez last week. So Liberty was at Niagara Falls. I think they're focused. I think they're ready to go, but I think Caden Salter's going to have a field day today against Buffalo.
What does Niagara Falls got to do with being focused?
No, they're relaxed.
Well,
they're
I hope so, because I locked them in. So
No, I agree with you, Sprouse. I think Jamie Chadwell's found his quarterback. That was one of the questions in the offseason. Caden Salter has looked phenomenal in the first 2 games. 419 yards passing, 4 touchdowns as well, with an additional 125 on the ground and 2 more touchdowns rushing. So he's been the real big key for that rushing attack for the Flames, as well as Quentin Cooley. And I just think they continue to roll against a struggling Buffalo team. I think their defense is a lot better than what they showed last week, but I still think it's going to be a lot to stop this Liberty offense.
Yeah, I agree. And then you got FIU going to UConn. I'm going to tell you guys, I like FIU here.
I do.
Keon Jenkins, once they made the quarterback. No, listen, they're 2-0 since they made the quarterback change. So,
I mean, I can't. I have no debate. I just thought it was funny.
He's just got to limit the turnovers. And UConn is on a 4-game losing streak dating back to last year. They've not scored more than 17 points in those games.
FIU, they're 2-1 right now?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Wow. I forgot they were week 0. I thought they were 1-1. So you're right.
Yeah, 2-1.
They would have been 2-0 if they had week 0. That's right.
If they didn't lose to La Tech, yeah.
FIU.
Hey, look out. What was their over-under? 4.5 probably.
I don't think it was that much.
Well, Coach Mack, we're rooting for you, brother. Looking out for FIU right there. Western Kentucky going to Ohio State, Jeff. Can they compete?
I think they absolutely can compete. Now, I don't know if they get the win. That's going to be a tough place to get a win at, with Ohio State being at home. But Austin Reed he's had a good season so far, but in my opinion, not quite the numbers maybe we've been used to seeing. Malachi Corley did not play last week. They kept him out. He's everything that I've read, he's slated to start today, so you get your top guy back, and they're going to need him against this offense. But I think the key to this game is Western Kentucky's defense. Can they slow down Ohio State's offense? It starts with Jaquez Evans. He has got to get pressure on the quarterback.
I'm a little questionable in this game, but I will say this. Like a lot of the major Power 5 teams in today, Ohio State hasn't been the Ohio State of past. So Western Kentucky, what's the spread on that? Anybody know off the top of their head? I think it's like 28.
28.5, I think it was, yeah.
I think it's going to be a tall task for Western Kentucky, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible.
Well, also in the Conference USA, you got New Mexico State at New Mexico. A little interesting in-state rivalry game.
The Rio Grande rivalry.
I mean,
Not fired up for that one?
No, I'm not fired up for it because I'm not fired up. New Mexico State has just let me down extremely this year. And then you got, here's another one, UTEP. I mean, my God, I had him as a dark horse in the conference.
I had him winning the conference.
You did, boy. That may be the worst take of the year from you. And you're usually pretty good.
I'm usually pretty close. Hey, we all get them on. It's still early.
It's only week 3.
It's
I'm
very early. Conference hadn't even really kicked off yet.
I'm off. And then, so they're at Arizona. UTEP is. I mean, Arizona's not great, but that's going to be a tough one. Going into the MAC. And by the way, remember, this show is presented by Trojans Together NIL Collective here at Troy. So if you're a local fan, business owner, reach out to Chuck and Jason. Get connected with these guys. You can help this university, help these players, get a little money in some of these players' pockets, and more importantly, just continue to make build Troy to the great program that it continues to be. But in the MAC, Central Connecticut State at Kent State. Not too fired up about that game.
Toss up.
You know, I had the head coach of Central Connecticut State come to my high school one time, and he asked me what was important to me, and I said, well, I want to play early, I want to win, and I want nice facilities. And he looked me dead in the eye and said, we don't have any of that. and then he said, also, you're from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Do you like snow? And I was like, not a fan. And he was like, we do have that.
I
don't think he really wanted you.
I don't think he did either. He should have. They weren't very good, my God. UMass at Eastern Michigan, Indiana State at Ball State, Central Michigan going up to Notre Dame. Miami of Ohio at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's 2-touchdown favorites. This is a rivalry game, but it's now a Power 5 rivalry game. Cincinnati's offense, 519 yards a game. So Miami's going to have to slow them down at some point, or they're going to have to get into a shootout, and I don't think they want to do that with Cincinnati.
No, they don't. I mean, Cincinnati has been rolling. They've been a very good team so far this year. Beat Pittsburgh last week, and their run game has just been unstoppable so far this year. But what I really want to see is Brett Gabbert, the quarterback for Miami of Ohio, and that receiver that I mentioned on Tuesday, Gage Larvadain. He is a study. Had a great week last week. Excited to see him in this game against Cincinnati, see what he can do.
Well, we got stairs over here for you there. Surprise guest, we got Troy Athletic Director Brent Jones. I'm disappointed. Come on up here. I'm disappointed we don't have the suit on yet.
It's too early.
I'm going to do everybody a favor, and I'm going to step aside for now.
Thank you.
Because I take up entirely way too much space.
Just that mic down for him.
I didn't want to blow it away this early,
Well, I remember last year we saw you, and I was like, man, there's some ADs that got some swagger.
Right.
You got it, sir.
Well, it takes a village, as they say, to raise everybody, and I'm one of those. So I get a lot of help with it.
How many suit combinations do you have in your closet?
Too many to really count, to be quite honest. Are we talking about Troy, or are we talking about just overall?
Well, I mean, I would have said Troy, but maybe you got other ones that you got going on. Maybe you break out the light blue pastel for Easter. Maybe you get some fall colors.
So about as many as Adam Pendergrass has is what I would say, okay?
No, Adam looks like he's got a lot of tailored suits in that closet. A little Steve Harvey collection, maybe.
There you go.
He's saying one. So he's holding up one.
I will double him then. I at least have two. So yes.
I got to ask you this, because you took over as the chair for the Sun Belt. Is that?
I will be in October, yes.
So how has the Sun Belt, just as a conference, taken advantage of regional rivalries, tradition, history, when every other conference seems like they're going the complete opposite way and saying, screw it, we just want the quick buck?
Well, I think you really saw that 2 years ago, leaning into conference expansion. And so what we were able to do, and obviously we had two schools that left that were basketball only, did not have football. And so really the Sun Belt Conference has been built on a football identity. And so you've really seen that over the years from the massive P5 upsets, as well as the 10, 12-plus wins that we've been a part of 4 different times in the last 6-7 years as part of this. But yes, so obviously with UTA leaving, Little Rock leaving, and then really we calculated, hey, how do we want to expand? And if you notice, we have a continuous amount of states all the way from Texas all the way up to West Virginia and Virginia and down. And so we really wanted to be able to protect our schools but expand our brand. And so you wanted like-minded institutions academically as well as athletically that fit there. And we were in a position of power. And so to be able to have 3 Conference USA schools, to be able to want to come to us, and then also to be able to get the #1 FCS, or maybe the second, either first or second, with North Dakota State being in there as well, brands in the FCS. And again, it matched with ODU being there as well inside the state. You have Marshall in West Virginia, so now you have that corridor there with App State as well. So no one's on an island anymore. And then it made a lot of sense for us to be able to go get Southern Miss, a big brand, especially in football and baseball. I mean, you look across what we've been able to do. Marshall's a top 100 men's basketball program. They're a top 75 football program. You see Southern Miss, they've been, I was there for 6 years, and as part of that, 12 straight winning seasons. And so they have a lot of history there as well. But you also look at a top 15 baseball program. You look at ODU, and what they've been able to do in the national championships, and then JMU. And so it just made perfect sense for us to be able to align with it. And with that is, revenue. It's not just falling from the trees, regardless if you're a P5, G5, whatever that is. And so you have to be very calculated with what you want to do. And so from a travel standpoint, now we were able to go east-west. And so with that, we really aligned with our rivals. And so that's what you want. And so I think the Sun Belt Conference 2 years ago, we were part of it. A lot of credit goes to Chancellor Hawkins, who's my boss, as well as Commissioner Keith Gill, and really leaning into that aspect of, hey, how can we create the best rivalries? and how can we create the best environments possible. And so, and one of those is to be able to have a school that's 4 hours away from us, meaning Southern Miss. It's an hour and a half away from South Alabama. It's 2.5 hours away from ULM, and it's 3 hours away from Louisiana Lafayette. Not being in a different conference and being able to have those great games. Same things with JMU. That's the reason you're here. This is a great game.
100%.
While it might be a little bit more travel, but it is a great matchup, a great game to be able to have that. And so you look at the eastern sides, you know, Georgia State doesn't have to travel too far, Georgia Southern, Coastal App. It just really fits. And that's what a conference is supposed to do. Like-minded academic, athletic, revenue, expenses, and really competition. And I think the Sun Belt Conference, I think we're able to show that we've done that.
Yeah, and I think some of the other conferences are looking at what you just said and are acting confused because they are going all over the place with these. So how do we take the Sun Belt with all the tradition, all the traditional powers and historic football programs? How do we make it to where the national media respects it as, hey, the winner of the Sun Belt might deserve a shot at this playoff thing?
So I think, and that's with the evolution. And so Chancellor Hawkins, you know, Troy University, Chancellor sits on the CFP finance board. And so he was instrumental, one of several commissioners as well as board members of going from 4 to 12. And so what makes Omaha, what makes, you know, OKC, what makes men's and women's basketball March Madness so exciting? It's about inclusion, right? It's about those schools that are upsetting whoever that may be. The Villanovas back in the day, you know, the Georgetowns 25 years ago. You know, I just saw a 30 for 30 piece talk about the beginning of the Big East and how they started with the humble beginnings. And so it's all about competition, and then it's really doing that. I think you see from a national standpoint what the Sun Belt Conference, and I'm going to come back to football, but I'm going to talk about a few other sports. And so basketball last year, to be able to have 2-3 teams in the top 100. You saw baseball being able to have 4 teams in the NCAA regional. You saw softball being able to have 4 teams in the NCAA regional. So this is competitive excellence that we're talking about, not just one sport, but several. Then you look at football, and you see in Troy, as we're part of this, we've had 4 10-win seasons in the last 8 years. All right, you see what App State's been able to do. You see what Coastal Carolina's been able to do. And so across the board, South Alabama, who's one of our biggest rivals, they won 10 games last year. And so collectively across it, you know, when you play a Sun Belt Conference game, it means something. And so I think the national media now is taking a significant step forward. And I think they really have the last 3 years. You saw this past year, we finished 12-2, beat UTSA. They were ranked in the top 25. We were ranked in the top 25. We finished 19th in America. That story has to be consistently told over and over and over again. And this is what I would tell you this. The Sun Belt Conference is never going to be the most resourced conference out there. You have the Pac-12, or you don't have the Pac-12 now. You have the Pac-2, but you got the Big 12, you got the Big 10, you got the SEC. You have some of those conferences. We're never going to be the most resourced. We understand that. But we can be the most competitive, and we can be the smartest using and allocating our resources, time, and efforts to be able to be the most competitive on the field. And I think tonight you're going to see a hellacious game. I think it's going to be amazing. And so you have JMU, who obviously played a great game versus Virginia. You look at our game versus Kansas State. Their offense, defensive line, I mean, they're huge. I mean, there's a reason they're top 15 in America. And we were giving them everything we could in the first half, and then it got away from us a little bit in the fourth quarter with some points and everything else. But if you watch that game, if you were at that game on the sideline, it was a dogfight as well. And I'm expecting one out here tonight. So to answer your question is, I think consistently being able to pour and to have great coaches, which I think you're going to see 2 amazing head coaches here. I know John Summerall is simply incredible, one of the best recruiters, one of the best motivators out there, and we'll have our guys ready as well as their head coach. And so it's hiring great people. It's continue to pour into your facilities, and it's really great leadership from our CEOs as well as from the commissioner.
Mr. Jones, we know you got a heck of a day ahead of you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
I'll stop back
on.
by with the suit so everybody can make
go.
sure.
We'll make sure we get the picture with the suit, you know.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank y'all for coming
Yes,
here, and
sir.
I know Chuck Carson and Jason Jones with Trojans Collective, they're one of the reasons that y'all are down here, and so I appreciate y'all being able to spread the message, spread the brand on just what we need to be able to do from a name, image, and likeness standpoint, as well from an overall, facility standpoint. Y'all are highlighting the Sun Belt Conference.
That's it.
And so that's what we're trying to do. So thank y'all, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Thank
you.
you so much. Troy Athletic Director Brent Jones. I mean, we talk about the Sun Belt all the time. Being the real, there you go. Yeah, you use them stairs.
No, I mean they're top of the group of 5 for a reason, and it just shows right there everything he described, that they're on the same page, not only from a university standpoint, but from a conference standpoint, top to bottom. I mean, they know where they want to go. They have a plan, and they're executing the plan. And they're just putting out, top quality products every weekend, regardless of what sport it is. And it's only going to continue to get better.
100%. And like he said, this game tonight, I am just looking for electric atmosphere, physical game.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's just one of those ones where if you're a fan, if you're in Troy right now or anywhere near Troy right now and you don't have plans to come to this game, come on. We got plenty of time. But we got to get back into making some picks, talking some football. We're back in the MAC conference. Sorry, I know they don't like when you say MAC conference because the C is for conference. But, Jeff, San Jose State goes to Toledo. To me, this is a very interesting game because you got San Jose State winning the Mountain West, and right now Toledo looks like the clear favorite in the MAC. What do you think's the key in this game? Is it quarterback play?
Well, I think you got two of the best quarterbacks in the group of five right now, and you have the top quarterback in the country with the most passing attempts with 0 interceptions in Trayvon Cordero. This guy's an absolute stud. He can run it. He can throw it. He protects the ball. The biggest thing for them is who's going to step up on the outside. Their top guy is hurt at receiver, so they need other guys to step up. Kareem Robinson, running back, had a big game last week, but that was, against a smaller school, so that's expected. But I think this is a marquee matchup in the group of five, especially for the MAC. And you got Finn, you got Cordero. Who's going to make the most plays for those offenses? And that team's going to be the one that wins the game.
I absolutely love that name, Trayvon Cordero.
Sounds like a baller.
It's like the parents knew
Product
when they
of
named
Hawaii.
him. They're like, all right, we're going to make this kid be a quarterback. He's either a quarterback or a shortstop. One. Trayvon Cordero.
Shortstop could.
I believe he's Polynesian, if I'm not
I think
mistaken.
this is anyway.
Either way.
Also in the MAC, Bowling Green goes to Michigan, Akron goes to Kentucky, Western Michigan goes to Iowa. Not very hopeful about any of those games. Jesse.
Yeah.
NIU, Rocky Lombardi for Heisman.
Yeah.
Can they get their second Power 5 win of the year at Nebraska?
Let's put it this way. I was very upset with NIU. I did say I was jumping ship, and I'm not exactly on board yet. But let me ask you something, both of you. Do you think Matt Rule is already in a hot seat? Do you think a lot of pressure is already on him based off of performance against Colorado and losing to Minnesota?
No. Nebraska's been so bad for so long. I mean, at some point, we were talking a little bit before the show, you got to quit paying all these buyouts because you can't just keep hiring and firing guys. And here's what I'll say. I know we're going to probably talk about Dion, unfortunately. That's what he's good at. He's got people talking about him. But this is going to be the effect of the Dion or the G.J. Kinney effect. Now, these boosters and these athletic departments are going to get even shorter on the leash with some of these coaches. With the transfer portal, they think you can come in there and say, I'm Coach Prime and wear sunglasses and hats and get 60-plus transfers and be good all of a sudden. But Nebraska.
So my point of that being is, okay, if you think Matt Rule's not on the hot seat, I think actually Thomas Hammock might be. So he got the win against Boston College, but losing last week, is this the same team from last year? And I know that's going through all the fans' heads. I do think the Lombardi is a great quarterback, but like Jeff said in the podcast for this week, he can't throw 3 interceptions, especially against Nebraska. I think he is the better quarterback. I still believe in this team.
Yeah.
I think there's a chance. You're telling me there's a chance. I think there's a chance that they can win this game. I do think they cover the 11 points, but I think there's a chance they can win this game. By the way, Jeff, awesome fix there. I can just tell the difference. I'm not really good mic adjuster.
Professional.
Not a good mic adjuster.
Jeff's
Proud
pro.
of my craft.
So yeah, if Lombardi plays like he should play, I think they have a chance.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think for Coach Hammock, it's all about what they do in the MAC at this point. But in the Mountain West, North Dakota, don't look now. North Dakota goes to Boise State. That ain't an easy one for Boise, so they better get up for it. San Diego State goes to Oregon State.
Interesting.
Yeah, we've talked about San Diego State. They just can't score, and they're going to have to at that point. Interesting game here. Vandy going to UNLV. UNLV 4-point dogs at home. I like UNLV a little bit. They got a pretty balanced rushing attack. They're going to give the ball to 5 or 6 different guys, and can one of them get loose against Vandy? And I think they have a shot Going to be tough, but I think they have a shot.
Yeah, I think it's going to be difficult. I mean, and if they get the run game going, that's going to be key. But for me, a big letdown so far has been Doug Brumfield. He has not been the passer that we saw last year. Only 186 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception so far in the season. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with his rapport with him and his receivers, but he just hasn't looked as sharp as he did last year in certain games. So they're going to need Brumfield to be able to throw the ball down the field. And if they can't, I think it might be a long day for the Rebels.
Yeah, you also got Wyoming going to Texas. Can Wyoming catch Texas on a little bit of a letdown week? Maybe. I don't know. It's going to be really tough for Wyoming. Hawaii going to Oregon. Look for a lot of balls in the air, a lot of passes, whatever happens in that game. I don't know. Colorado State. By the way, Jesse, do you wear sunglasses and hats when you talk to grown-ups? Is that what your mother taught you? Jeez, I guess you don't. You can't.
It looked a lot cooler in my head. And I was going to put this on. Forgot I had these freaking headphones on. I mean, Deion Sanders is brilliant at what he does. He's a marketing genius. But what Colorado State did might even be more genius because now they are the headliner of this game. They're not, and behind us we have the Jumbotron. They're showing College Game Day, and we're saying how it's all gonna be about Colorado. Dwayne Johnson, I don't get it. The Rockies. Now we're talking about more about Colorado State. My thing with Deion Sanders is this: he walks in and gets his job at Colorado, and the first thing he says is, "We're not going to allow earrings. We're not going to allow sunglasses and hats. Take them off." And then they beat TCU. Now it's like you can do whatever you want.
Yeah,
you can do whatever you want now.
Well, I think you're right. I think both coaches are playing this up. I think Coach Norvell at Colorado State was like, you know what? We're being disrespected here. So I'm gonna plant a little seed. I'm gonna see if my team will have my back in this thing and see if we can get up for this game. You know, I don't think that they can. They still haven't solved the scoring points issue.
Hey, call me a conspiracist. I wouldn't be surprised if Deion even text him like, "Hey, man, why don't you say this and this right here will make our game a little bigger." They might be boys.
You're trying to rejuvenate a rivalry of two teams that have both been so bad for so long that maybe you're trying to create this, Colorado primetime Hollywood sunglasses. Colorado State's your working man. Norvell wears the mechanic outfit at practice every day. So maybe that's what you're trying to do.
Well, it's going to be a big spectacle today. Yeah. That's for sure, and that's what you want around these games. But it's just going to be tough sledding, I think, for Colorado State all the way around. But they're starting a new quarterback, Braden Fowler Nicolosi. He came in relief last week, and he played better than Millen has shown. So it's going to be interesting to see him against this Buffalo defense. I think it's going to be difficult. But if he's going to be the guy going forward, today's the day to make a statement.
That's
so
right.
Go out there, young man, and let it all fly.
It's these Mountain West quarterback names. There's a lot of difference between the Mountain West quarterback names and Sunbelt. Gunner.
I was just going to say, yeah, you're exactly right on that. Kansas goes to Nevada. Nevada is in a tough spot. Ever since this Colorado State staff left, they've been in a tough spot.
Haven't been able to replace it.
Well, we are in Sunbelt territory. Let's get Sunbelt first, and then we'll get our games of the week here. Jesse, starting with you, Georgia Southern going to Wisconsin. Last year they went up to Nebraska and got the win. Can they do it at Camp Randall?
It's possible. I know I keep saying it's possible. I like Georgia Southern. I do think they're definitely going to cover the spread. You look at two quarterbacks here. Tanner Mordecai, who was in the group of 5 last year. So far this year, 49-71, 466 yards. He's thrown 2 TDs, 2 INTs, but his passing completion is 69%. One thing that I say about Wisconsin and their third down efficiency is only 38%. Georgia Southern, a lot better, 60% third down efficiency for them. And then Davis Brin, I've always been a Davis Brin guy, and he's 78.3. He's 78.3% passing completion. So if Georgia Southern's defense could slow down the run, because I think when it comes to playing the Big Ten, they're going to try to run the ball at you with their big and physical guys. If Georgia Southern can get some stops on third down, which we're showing that Wisconsin is not good at converting on third downs, Georgia Southern has a shot. I like them for sure to cover the plus. I think it's actually plus 20 now. I think they'll for sure cover that. But don't be surprised, man. Georgia Southern, to me, might be the most complete team in the group of 5 right now today.
You know what we used to say when we were in college? pro day is where dreams go to die.
Yeah.
Wisconsin is where quarterbacks go to die.
For sure.
I mean, you just can't. You want to be a running
You're not
back?
wrong.
Go to Wisconsin. You want to be an O-lineman? Go to Wisconsin. You want to play quarterback?
Name me one
Why
quarterback.
would you leave
name me
SMU to go to
Name
Wisconsin?
me one quarterback since Russell Wilson at Wisconsin.
I can't. And I'll say this: it makes no sense for them for him to make that jump to Wisconsin. You go from throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game to, he's still throwing it a lot, but the offensive scheme is just different, and you don't have the skill guys, I think, around you. And Davis Brin does. I think that this offense is electric. They're going to throw the ball 40, 50 times. They're going to put up points on offense. My question is, can Wisconsin keep up? They might not be able to. So it's going to be a shootout, I think, up there.
My tail is wagging right now. I love that. That's good.
There you go. You got Wake Forest at Old Dominion.
Shootout.
Yeah, South Alabama going to Oklahoma State is very interesting, Jeff. Oklahoma State losing Spencer Sanders, which I know it's Power 5. Why you transferred to Ole Miss to go sit on the bench behind Jackson Dart, I don't know, because Oklahoma State could certainly use a quarterback right now.
Yeah, they could. And my thing is, South Alabama, in my opinion, on paper, should have a shot to compete and win this game, but they have just not played up to their potential so far this season. We were at the tough game week 1 against Tulane. We thought they did some good things, but turned the ball over. My question is, why are they not using their 1,000-yard rusher from last year, LaDamian Webb, a whole lot more? Maybe there's something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about, and I expected a lot more from Carter Bradley, their quarterback. I thought he was one of the best underrated guys in the group of 5, but he hasn't really put it together. They haven't used Devin Voisin on the outside very much. It's just been kind of mind-blowing. They've kind of gotten away from the things that they did well last year, but if they can, maybe today's the day. Maybe they wake up and they put it to Oklahoma State and get the win, and they'll be rolling from here on out.
Yeah, I hope so. I like it. I like them to compete in that game. You also got Duquesne going to Coastal. You got Stony Brook at Arkansas State, and I mean,
This might be
that's
Arkansas
a pick 'em.
State's.
We better pick that game because I don't.
The Wolves get the win. I think they get the W today. They got to.
God, they better.
If they do not, there's no doubt in my mind Butch Jones is leaving Arkansas State. Like, they're going to have his back.
You got
I think he's leaving. I think he's
They're
gone
going to
one
throw
way
his
or
stuff in the
another.
waterfall.
Yeah, I think so too. And then Jackson State, Coach Prime's old stomping grounds, going to Texas State, going to San Marcos. I think Texas State gets back on track in that game. We got games of the week.
Fired up.
We got a few games. Before we do that, I want to give Chuck, get on up here, your chance to give us your elevator pitch on Trojans Together. I haven't thought this through, Jesse, on what we're going to do with the microphones and headphones, because he's our, game day has The Rock. We have the Chuck for our guest picker.
What do you want me to do?
I don't know. I'll think about it as we go. Just maybe
Why don't he just
go headphones for now,
Okay.
and then we'll talk about the collective, and then we will pick some games.
Yeah.
And maybe bring the headphones back when we pick the game.
Bye. See you later.
Chuck, my man, first of all, thank you, sir, for everything you have done for the group of 5 guys.
Fantastic. Good to be here. Really, really glad you guys are here. Thanks for coming and showcasing Troy football, but also what you do in a broader sense, showcasing group of 5 football. We're very, very happy to have you here and pleased to be the game week sponsor on behalf of the collective.
Ain't no doubt. Well, yeah, I've mentioned it a couple times before. Trojans Together, NIL Collective is the sponsor for this week, for this game, for this show. Give us your elevator pitch. You guys just kicked off right before the season. So why'd you start it? What can we do as fans or as the community of Troy do to help support?
Yeah, appreciate that. Well, yeah, we're a month old as of today. We launched publicly a month ago. 2 entities underneath the umbrella Trojans Together. The for-profit side is a business sponsorship side. So if you're a business and you want to connect your brand with the brand of a student athlete to help promote your business brand, Cardinal Corporate is our business sponsorship arm of the collective. If you're one that's inclined for charitable giving, you're a philanthropist, you like to see communities built. We connect student athletes with local area regional charities to help promote their vision and their mission. Our tagline for the collective is build communities, empower players, win together. Build communities is first on purpose. That's really where a lot of our conversation started around the idea of a collective was the nonprofit side. We added the business side just because it's a great idea and a great way to help those relationships in our community grow between businesses and athletes. But, the why, necessity, is the mother of all invention, they say. And so you got to have it. You got to do it. It's a part of the landscape now, 2 years in, 2+ years in to NIL being a thing. And we took our time. We're probably, I wouldn't say in the Sun Belt Conference late to the party, but, some people jumped in right away, and I think had to figure it out and kick the tires and change some things. And so we took our time and really tried to evaluate what might work here, what would work well. We are structured a little bit different than some of our peers across the conference and across the country, and we think that gives us a competitive advantage in the long term. Make sure that we build something that's got legs to it and can last for a long time.
You said that you don't do this. You're pretty good on the mic.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Like a politician, I think, old Chuck. Should we replace Jesse Grisham with Chuck Carson right here?
I think so.
Let's not vote now, Jesse. Well, let's wait till later.
So let's do this, Chuck. Thank you so much for y'all supporting us and sponsoring the show. Great hat, by the way, group5guys.com. You can get you one. Here's what we'll do, Swag. We'll have Chuck pick his winners, just to off the cuff pick your winner. If you got a good reason, go for it. If not, I'm fine with you just saying
10-4.
Who you got. And then we'll bring old Swaggy back in. We'll do a little breakdown on all the games, and we'll go from there, and we'll call it. We'll sign off, and we'll go get some food, and then we'll go watch some Troy football later tonight. All right, Chuck. Fresno State at Arizona State.
West Coast football and the sport of cricket are about the same place on my sports radar. So I'm
Hold on, Chuck. I'm a West Coast guy. Okay?
And we love you, and we're glad you're here in the
too.
South with us today. Okay,
There you go.
But I've got the Fighting Kenny Dillinghams in a home win, and that's going to be unpopular, I think, and it's certainly against the spread and what the Vegas is saying, which is always scary to go against Vegas. But I got Fresno losing at ASU. I got 31-27 Sun Devils.
I like it.
Iowa State going to Ohio, going to MAC country.
Yeah. Sloppy game, 11 a.m. kick. Nobody's out of bed. Ohio's played 3 games so far. They've got an extra game. I like the Bobcats at home against Iowa
Big
State.
time pick.
The Swag Bear's giving me the nod, too. He's with me on it.
Good pick. You might be uncomfortable picking this game. ECU at App State in Boone.
Nothing uncomfortable about that. I think App State gets on them early and does not let off, and they get the dub on the mountain.
Here's another one. Tulane in Hattiesburg.
More interesting than people think. I think Tulane gets the win. I don't think they cover. I think that's going to be a dogfight at the other rock, and I think Tulane pulls it out, but I think that might be a little bit closer than folks are anticipating.
As a Troy fan, what's the rock? If I said the game's at the Rock,
it's the place where we win. As a Troy fan.
All right. Well,
you asked as a Troy fan.
I got you. All right. Georgia State at Charlotte.
Yeah, these teams are very similar to me. Both of them have some very difficult games coming up on their respective schedules. I think Charlotte beats them at home. Georgia State really hasn't shown me a whole lot yet. They really haven't played a tough opponent yet. I think Biff gets it done at the house, and I think they get the win today.
I don't think we have to ask you this one, but Troy James Madison tonight, NFL Network.
Yep, love it. I think it lives up to the hype. I think this one's billed as a premier game in the Group of 5, and I think that's right on target. Of course, I've got the Trojans winning. I've got us winning a close one, though. I think the Trojan defense has got a little bit to show and a little bit to prove, and I think they're here today to do it. I think the O-line and I think on both sides of the ball, offensive, defensive line, that's where this game is decided. I think if Troy holds them under 30, they're in good shape. I think they put points on the board. The rain could be a factor today, but I've got the Trojans in a close one, in a classic, in a dogfight. I love the hype. I think it's on target, but I've got the Trojans winning today.
I love it. Last thing, and we'll let you go. Trojans Together website. Where can people go if they're just trying to do some research or want to help out?
Yeah, I love it. TrojansTogetherCollective.com is our website. Houses all of our information, all of our social media. You can follow us on any of your favorite social media platforms at Trojans Together. Come see us, check us out. Our personal cell phones, myself and Jason Jones, our co-founder, are on there on purpose. If you need us, we're there.
Told you, Jeff.
Chuck. He's
on it. He's good. I'm telling you.
Appreciate you guys.
Sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Chuck.
We'll hang out. We'll get some food here in a minute, my friend.
Go Trojans. Jesse, come get this headset from me. give us
you're
some
invited.
Come on,
here.
Swaggy. Let's
You're
finish
invited
this thing
back
off.
on. Let's.
You got big
You got big
earphones
picks.
to fill
You got.
to that performance.
Just hit the table too. I didn't get one compliment all day. He gets on the mic for 3 minutes.
Well, I compliment
Already
people that are
replaced
good
me.
at their job, and hey, let's go quick. We got some games that have already kicked off here at the
Yeah,
noon,
make it quick. I'll make
the
it
noon
quick.
kickoffs. Fresno State, Arizona State. Starting with you, Jeff Murphy. Who you got?
You know I'm a West Coast guy, and I love the Bulldogs. I think Mikey Keene has filled a big role that Jake Haener left, and I think they continue to roll. I know it's on the road, but they are favored. I think they live up to the expectation like James Madison did on the road last week.
I got Fresno State just because we need another Group of 5 over Power 5 win. Swaggy.
I knew these were going to come in handy one day. I like Fresno State. I like Fresno State. What?
Yes, please.
Hold that up.
Please address
to,
it.
to the side of your face, please. I see a lot of similarities there.
You know, my kid loves Paw Patrol. Kind of looks like Rubble, the construction guy.
I've always been
If
a
you-
bulldog guy.
You have. You always wanted a bulldog.
I want a bulldog. They're too expensive. No, you know who else really impressed me with Fresno State? I think you talked about it in one podcast. Eric Brooks, the wide receiver.
good
The
player.
guy's a really good player. They beat a good Purdue team. Purdue does not. That was not like NIU beating Boston College. I think Purdue's actually going to get a lot of wins this year. Fresno State going to Arizona State, big win.
That's Mikey Keene has answered a lot of questions that I had. I was low on Fresno. I thought they had lost too much, but right now in the Mountain West, I think they've been the most impressive team. So
Another Mountain West quarterback name, Mikey Keene.
Mikey Keene, that's a good one.
Close game last week, though, that I thought they should have won by a lot more, but you tend to have those sometimes. So
Got it done.
after the big win against Purdue.
Iowa State at Ohio. Curtis Rourke cleared to play today.
Yep. He
Ohio's a
should be
completely
playing.
different team with that guy at quarterback. I think Ohio can get it done, and that'll get us to 8. You got the Bobcats, Swaggy.
I like Ohio.
Murph, what do you got?
I love Curtis Rourke, and I think this ground game for Ohio gets rolling with Allison and Bangura. They've been splitting carries so far. I think they take it to the Cyclones at home.
Yeah.
And if I'm a betting guy, if I'm Ohio State, I'm probably going with Ohio. Inside joke there because their players can't play because they were gambling.
Iowa State.
I said Iowa State.
I thought you said Ohio State.
No.
I
If
get
I'm
it.
Iowa
Makes
State,
it-
it's
got you.
okay. Usually I'm good at jokes.
Well, let me just say
just
one more
landed.
thing. If the Bobcats defense play anything like they did against FAU last week,
That's right.
Yeah.
they're going to have a great shot
Yeah.
to win that game.
Guys, ECU at App State in Boone. If there was a place other than Troy that I would want to be this weekend, it would be in Boone, North Carolina. That game is going to be a madhouse.
Yeah.
Tailgate is going to be ridiculous. Looking for a great crowd. ECU now their offense has been non-existent. Now, granted, they played 2 really good defenses, Michigan and Marshall. But I think Chuck had it right. I think App State is going to get up early, and I don't think they're going to let up because I think that team is hungry. I think their loss to North Carolina last week is sort of what I was saying. Troy needs some adversity, and I think App State is going to come out firing today.
Yeah, ECU had lost so much last year, and Keaton Mitchell, their best player out of the backfield. And then you also lose longtime starter Holt Nailers. Mason Garcia just has not been effective in the passing game. He's ran it well. He's been their leading rusher. But I think Joey Aguilar, DVC, community college product out on the West Coast, Northern California, I think he continues to sling it, run all over the field. I think App State takes it home.
Did you already hold up your sign?
Have not. East Carolina, they have something to prove. The defense has been suspect for the past couple of weeks. I do enjoy Joey Aguilar with App State. You just did his whole bio there, but from California, Cali kid. And he surprised me last week against North Carolina. And he's thrown 6 touchdowns. He's already over, 499 yards in just the little time he's been playing. All time, App State is leading this rivalry 20-12 games. Sean Clark is 3-0 all time against East Carolina. One as a head coach at App State, one as a GA, and one being an assistant somewhere else. Not really sure. I think it's a no-brainer, folks. App with a win.
Stu's right. Will be happy. He'll be back on track.
Yeah. Tulane at Southern Miss. Is Michael Pratt playing today? I saw he was questionable again.
I think he's still going to be a game time decision. If I'm Tulane, I hold him out again. If that knee
at this
issue
point, yeah.
is a problem, so expect Kai Horton to play. But I think Tulane is just too good at all the positions right now, and I think they take care of Southern Miss.
Yeah, and you talked about South Alabama not using LaDamian Webb. At Southern Miss, Frank Gore's only got 17 carries on the season so far. I don't know if I know he's battled injuries. I haven't seen anything about injuries this year, but I don't think he'll be able to get going against Tulane, unfortunately. So if I'm Southern Miss today, I'm not using him.
Well, Frank Gore Jr. is great, but they have a running back, Rodriguez Clark. He's the one getting all the rushes and all the carries. Yeah. He might be better than Frank Gore Jr.
He might be.
Tulane and Southern Miss is my dark horse in the Sun Belt. These guys are going to win games that you're not expecting them to win this year. Book it. At least 2 or 3. That being said, the interior for Tulane, offense and defense, is going to be too much for Southern Miss. Good game at the Rock. I could not agree more with Chuck. It's going to be a close game. Tulane's not going to blow this out, but I'm going to take Southern Miss to cover.
Southern Miss to cover, you're going Tulane to win.
Yes.
Did you mess that up?
I grabbed the wrong one. First time doing it. They will cover.
I saw him talking about Tulane, and I saw the outline of Southern Miss. I was like,
well, if you want to go through my whole, if you want to go through the swag bear mind, I was looking at them, and I've been saying Tulane all week, and I saw that Southern Miss, and I started questioning myself. I was like, they might win, but then in my head, I made my last.
Watch them pull out the W today.
They might, just because you did that.
And we're going to edit this, and where my mouth goes like Chinese, and it's going to be like Tulane.
Georgia State going to Charlotte. Biff Poggi's calling for another sellout there in Charlotte. Hey, Georgia State's 2-0. Darren Granger has been everything for them right now, throwing and running the ball. They've also got a pretty good running back, Marcus Carroll. Georgia State's been pretty good offensively. Charlotte's strength is their defensive line. So, interesting matchup there in the trenches there out of Charlotte. Man, sorry, Jimmy. Sorry, Biff. I'm going Georgia State.
Well, I think it's going to be a great matchup, and that's the matchup that I want to see is Charlotte's defense against Georgia State's offense. And you're right, that two-headed monster with Granger and Carroll has been effective. But I'm rolling with my boy Jimmy Touchstone. Charlotte gets it done at home. You know that student section is going to be cracking.
Yep.
So give me Charlotte.
Darren Granger for Georgia State. I think this guy's having a phenomenal year so far. He's been doing it on the ground and in the air. But like Chuck said, these are two teams that are very similar. Now, y'all were talking about Charlotte's defense being great. I don't have the sample size to say they're a great defense. I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I think both defenses are going to struggle with both dual-threat quarterbacks. I'm taking Georgia State as well. I think Darren Granger's going to make some plays. Georgia State on the road, they're 500 in the past few years. They're actually a pretty decent away team. They play better away than they do at home.
Well, if my clock is correct, the Normulence is getting just cranked up right about now.
Baby,
that tailgate is going.
Gold
One thing is
shots are flowing.
One thing
49er fans will be ready.
The Charlotte 49er fans, that student section is going to be rocking. But I do like Georgia State on the road.
You know, I do have to mention, are you guys starting to smell the barbecue?
Starving.
Yeah, we're starting to get some people around. We're starting to smell the barbecue. We got, we had Carlos Santana on the music back there behind us a second ago. Y'all want to pick the best game of the day?
Absolutely. Game of the week.
Absolutely.
James Madison coming to Troy. This is the de facto Sun Belt Championship game from a year ago. James Madison's got a lot to prove in this ball game. I saw you pull up both. Smart. You pulling up both. You don't want to let us know where we're going?
Mm-hmm.
I like it. James Madison's got a lot to prove. Troy's got a lot to prove. Murph, let me go to you first on this game. Give me your first initial thoughts.
James Madison has been impressive, and we said that going into it. Although their fans got upset because we didn't pick them to win anything, because you can't go to the championship, so you're not on any of our championship radars. But they had so much talent coming back, especially on defense, especially on that O-line. The questions were, how are you going to replace all the production at the quarterback, receiver, and running back positions? So far, they've replaced them. All right, Jordan McLeod got the start. He'll be the starter moving forward. He's been much more efficient, much more effective running that offense, and they got a huge win on the road at Virginia last week. We talked about that. Reggie Brown has been his top target on the outside, averaging 22.3 yards per catch.
It's pretty good.
Not bad. So I think that it's going to be a great matchup between that offense and Troy's defense. I mean, especially in years past, that's what they have been known for, but it's been a slow start for Troy's defense so far. So I want to see this Troy defensive front, especially the defensive line. They only have 1 sack so far this year. They have got to get after the quarterback. They have got to start wrecking havoc in the backfield. They have the personnel to do it. I think they have a chip on their shoulder. I think they show up today, and they get much more pressure than they've shown the last 2 games.
Well, as of right now, I don't think we have word on TJ Jackson. I saw a tweet last week that he might play versus Kansas State. I don't know if he's going to play. I think he's the key. I mean, I think they're missing him a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose Carlton Martial, and now you're missing your best defensive lineman. I think it's hurting them, and you know, we don't know if he's going to play, but James Madison's offensive line, they're probably licking their chops if he's not playing.
Yeah.
Swaggy?
Everything Jeff said, I agree with. Yeah, the defense is struggling. They've only had 1 sack so far this year. And their top tacklers are in the safety and cornerbacks. So that's one sign that's one stat you don't want, right? They do have some ballers, though, and they got Javon Solomon, and if you don't have TJ Jackson playing, that guy needs to show up. I think he has a big night tonight. JMU, they're by far, with Georgia, probably above Georgia Southern, the most consistent team right now. They're scary, and I think this is going to be a huge test for Troy. The only way the Troy Trojans win tonight is if that defense actually shows up. I think Troy will be okay on offense. I think probably going to surprise some people. I think Vidal's going to probably bust some big runs on the ground. Gunnar Watson, sling it, son, sling it. My pick for today, I think John Summerall's going to have those boys ready to go. I'm taking Troy at home tonight. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to say somewhere between maybe 21-17 Troy.
Jeff?
I think it comes down to Gunnar Watson. I really do. I think he has to step up. I think that James Madison, from a defensive perspective, they know Vidal. They know what to expect. They're going to load the box. They're going to make Watson push the ball down the field on the outside. So it's going to be up to him, in my opinion. And I think he gets it done. I think he steps up. I think Gunnar Watson has a great game. And I think narrowly, very narrowly, Troy gets the job done. They beat James Madison in a close, physical. I think this game is going to be so physical, and it's going to be fun to watch. But give me Troy.
And what's going to help them win that game, too, Sprouse, what you're probably going to say. This is going to be the first away test for real, I think, for James Madison. I don't think Virginia, that crowd, was not going to be in it as much as Troy is going to be in it tonight.
Well, and they said 800 to 1,000 screaming James Madison fans today, which, as we know, has become arguably the most sensitive fan base in America.
Very sensitive.
And so, you know,
Very
if you're
soft.
looking to address the group of 5 guys like you've been trying to do on Twitter, I'm up underneath a Troy tent. I've got on blue pants and a Troy golf polo, if you're looking for me. Not hard to find. But
I love this song.
thanks, Jesse.
Tasha
That's a
Bettyville.
good song. Guys, I think James Madison's going to win the game. I think TJ Jackson's not going to play. Coach Summerall's going to appreciate this. You're welcome for not delivering rat poison like these 2 guys have done. But I think Nick Kidwell is sitting there with his offensive line right now saying, hey, we just beat Virginia, who's got bigger guys up front than this Troy team. We're going to get to the second level, which does not include Carlton Martial, and we're going to have a safety as the leading tackler of this game. And I think James Madison is going to put on a physical show today. And I think we're going to see purple streamers flying all over Troy, Alabama. I got James Madison. Close. I think close. I just
think John's. I mean, I don't want to keep going back and forth with it. I just think Summerall saw that Kansas State
Yeah.
clip, and I think they just did a lot of inside drill. But you know what? I'm excited for it. Tonight's going to be one heck of a ball game.
It's going to be a hell of a ball game. That's all we got for you guys today. Group of 5 live, presented by Trojans Together NIL Collective. We thank you, Troy. We thank you, Adam, Chuck, Jason, Brent Jones, the AD. Thank you for coming on, hanging out with us. You can find us on all the social media platforms at Group of 5 Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your family and friends all about us. We'll see you live from Murfreesboro, Tennessee next week.